So just to review where we're holding by, thank you for tuning in again to 6x6, getting a full Sikha talk from the Rebbe after a week. And we were talking about a convert, a child, who maybe his parents told him, hey, you're coming along with us, it's cute, it's nice, Shabbos, kosher, and the child has then become Jewish, but only if by bar and bas mitzvah they don't protest and say, hey, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And that is a practical law. Now, what does it really mean? On one hand, we said, I hate to use the word half, but they weren't 100% Jewish before bar and bas mitzvah, but they were Jewish on the other hand. You send them to the day school, they learn to do the mitzvahs while they were young. But then at bar and bas mitzvah, they're 100% Jewish. So what it is to say, let's go back to Shimshon and Samson and Samuel, Shmuel, that they were at birth. So our question, if you remember, we were talking about how could they be made by their mothers or their parents, how can they be Jewish, then be a Nazir, how can they be a Nazir when they're still in their fetus or childbirth? So what we say is, and this is a delicate idea, but what we say at the time of bar and bat mitzvah, same idea with a convert is the same idea we want to connect it to a Nazir, that the word in Hebrew is limafreya, retroactively. I mean, they weren't really a Nazir while they were young. They weren't really a convert when they were young. But once they did become a bar and bat mitzvah, and they said, let us be hey, they don't really have to say anything we said. They just don't have to machor. They say protest. Hey, I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. So again, bar and bat mitzvah goes by, and they don't say anything. Then retroactively, then they become bar and bat mitzvah. And with the status of Shimshon and Shmuel, they were Nazirs really at birth, even though that they really couldn't be Nazir at birth, we said. But again, at bar mitzvah, retroactively, they took upon themselves, or not even actively really, they didn't protest, and they became Nazir even from the time, really a fetus, but all right, at the time of their birth. That's an important point, that we still say that that for Nazir also, that back to our issue, that even though they were trained to be a Nazir, meaning they weren't allowed to drink wine or grape juice, and they kept their hair long. Let me explain one more detail about the Nazir. You say, wow, man alive, if I kept my hair long, I mean, I don't have too much hair anyway, but in any case, if I'd be young and never take a haircut, it would be long as who knows what, would be very heavy if you braided it up on top of your head. So really the law is that even though they are allowed to take a haircut once a year. So, I mean, once a year is a long time for a haircut, but in any case, it's not forever. So let's just be a little bit practical. That is the law. But in any case, they have to be, they're dedicated, like I say, that is the main idea of a Nazir. And like I say, now if you say, I want to go out with my friends and I don't want to drink any Coca-Cola, I mean, people drink water, I know nowadays. But in any case, I'm just saying, you go to dinner to someone's house and I can't have any carbonated drink. He says, well, how are you going to come to our house? You can't be near the carbonated drink. Or those days, like I say, really in Mediterranean countries, that is, instead of Coca-Cola, they do drink wine even till today. That was their major drink, and I can't just be with people. So I look a little bit funny with my long hair. I look a little funny that I can't join you for dinner all the time. So they're really more like isolated from the community. But in a way, it's a good thing that they're isolated. This way they can meditate on Hashem. Really, the truth of the matter is, I'll give you another idea, that it says that after we're being a Nazir, they have to bring a sacrifice. Now, that's why there's no such thing as a Nazir today. We don't have a temple, therefore we don't have sacrifices, and therefore we can't have a Nazir today, nowadays. I'm talking the last 2,000 years. But idea that the Nazir, that even though they can't drink wine and they can't take a haircut, but the main idea from a Nazir is to separate themselves from the world. So it's an argument in the Gemara now. Is that a holy thing or not a holy thing? So on one hand, I brought you the holy thing. You're isolated from people, you stay by yourself, and you meditate. Other people say it's a very important idea now. It says that the Almighty is upset. He gave you wine. Wine is perfectly allowed. It tastes good. All kinds of different wine tasting tests and a beautiful wine contest. And it makes you feel good. A little alcohol content is in there too. So he says, well, I allowed you. It's perfectly kosher. Buy kosher wine. What's the problem? Have it. Gesund, you say, es gesund, hey, you eat with health. Good. But why is he not drinking wine? I gave you wine, God would say. I gave you so many things that you were not allowed to eat. There's so many kosher laws. You can't eat this. You can't eat lobster, no shrimp. People love it. You can't have it because you keep kosher. Isn't it enough what I forbade to you? And you have to take upon yourself more forbidden things like this wine. So the Almighty doesn't allow that, doesn't like that, doesn't allow it. You're allowed to be a Nazir. But then at the end, you're done being a Nazir. You bring a sin offering because it really wasn't the proper attitude to have. In any case, we'll conclude with an inner idea of what the idea of a Nazir is in the next session.